And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is game time. My deck was red, it was white, it was fast, but would it be fast enough? So I keep this hand, 3 lands, I can play all my stuff except for this big old bomb. But again, I'm not too worried about it because I got plenty of time to find that second plains. I put down my Goblin Arsonist and get ready to go to town. My opponent's got nothing, so I swing with the Arsonist. I get the Fire Slinger down, so far, so good. This is pretty aggressive. He gets down a Bloodseeker, which I'm not too concerned about. I figure the life I'm losing from my creatures coming down isn't really going to matter if my deck succeeds at being aggressive. So that's pretty sweet news. I get another land. Now I can play Chandra's Outrage. I decide to swing with the Arsonist. I figure, taking a bit of a gamble here, I figure that my opponent values this Bloodseeker and will let the damage from the Arsonist go through, even though now would be a great time to block the Arsonist because there's no other creature to kill when the Arsonist dies. My gamble proves correct. My opponent lets the guy go through. I play my 3rd land, drop a Fiery Hellhound. So I've got a creature coming on to the board every turn so far. Let's see what my opponent can do on turn 3. Well, he gets down the Garruk's Companion. This just really exemplifies why I don't like this creature. I really actually like the white armored warhorse, the 2/3, better, because this 2 toughness is just so irritating sometimes. Right now, I can swing with like my Hellhound, I can swing with the Arsonist, and they'll take that companion out. So I just really don't care that he put that thing down. Alright, I do Fire Sling my opponent at the end of his turn, that's why he lost a life there. And here, I again decide to just swing. I figure that my opponent probably values these higher costing, more valuable creatures, and that he's going to let my stuff go through. I think it's a mistake, honestly, to let them go through. Note that the Arsonist does trade with the companion, but my opponent lets it all go through. So since I have nothing to play, I decided to pump up my Hellhound. Once, twice, and I could have kept mana back for Fling that I just drew, so that if he does play a 1 toughness creature, I could Fling the Arsonist during his turn and take out both the Seeker and the 1 toughness creature, but I decided to figure that, with 3 mana, possibly 4, he's got green stuff, he's not going to play a 1 toughness creature here, so I use my final red mana to pump up the Hellhound one more time. So I swing at him for a fairly mighty 6 damage, and this Singer is going to get him on his turn, so that's 7 damage in 1 turn. Not bad at all for turn 4. Okay, on his turn he does play another land, and he swings at me. Really should have swung with this Bloodseeker, so here I'm getting a sense that the opponent's not particularly great. If he's not blocking with this Bloodseeker, then he should be attacking with him, because that is, for the Fire Slinger, that is a pretty good trade. Well, he only swings at me for 3 with the Companion, and then with his mana he drops the Onyx Mage, so now I really wish I had kept the Fling mana up, because now I could Fling on his turn, and on my turn I'd be ready to Chandra's Outrage and just go to town. Alright, I Fire Sling him. Always got to make sure you remember to do that, because those points of damage might matter. And I get another Chandra's Outrage. Okay, so at this point he's actually getting to be kind of within burn range. These Outrages are going to deal 4 damage to my opponent, and my creatures are still coming in. This Slinger's got damage coming online. So I decide to Fling here. I don't know, it seems like a pretty reasonable play. I Fling my Arsonist at the Onyx Mage. This allows me to kill off both of his dudes. He thinks for a long time as though he has a combat trick, but maybe he was just figuring out what the heck was going on, and then his creatures die. Alright, now I'm ready to swing with my Hellhound, and since I have nothing to do with the rest of my mana, I pump him up. That Hellhound's really doing some good work for me. It's a 3 mana cost creature that's dealing 9 damage so far. Alright, on his turn, he plays the 5th land, and puts Dark Favor, costing him another life, onto the Companion. This is like the least scary thing I could imagine coming from a black-green deck for 5 mana. So either the draft did not go well for him, or he's not a great player. This Dark Favor, though, really questionable enchantment. So questionable. Especially 12th has a fair amount of removal, and the toughness on the Dark Favor is usually not going to let you escape red removal. So really, I don't know. I don't like this enchantment. I don't get why you have to lose a life to play it. It seems like it would be fair and pretty bad even without the life gain, but I guess I'm not a Magic designer. Anyway, now that Garruk's Companion is a mighty 6/3, but I've got plenty of health. I don't really care about him swinging on me. So he gets me down to 10, and then taps out to play Arachnus Web on my Hellhound. This is important to note, by the way. Arachnus Web stops activated abilities, and it pops off if the creature's power gets to be 4. Well, this Hellhound can pump itself, but he actually can't use his own activated ability anymore to do that, so the only way that the Hellhound can counter the Arachnus Web is if you have 2 red mana open in response to pump up the Hellhound, which I do not. So this Hellhound is out of the game. I have no enchantment removal, no bouncing, no combat tricks that can pump up this Hellhound, so this Hellhound is as good as out. Alright, but I do Fire Sling my opponent, never forget that. He's at 4 life, so I mean, really, he's just screwed here, because this one Chandra's Outrage is just going to be enough. So I blow up the companion, he's at 2 life, so on his turn I'm going to sling him, then on my next turn I'll sling him again and he's dead. He needs to put down like a Brindle Boar or something to be able to get the life back. Well, with 6 mana, he taps 5 of it for a Stampeding Rhino. Lots of those going around in the draft. This is only turn 6, so my deck really worked very nicely in this game. On turn 6, I've already got him dead. The Slinger will sling on his turn, and then on my turn, I wrap it up with another sling. I had a couple of different ways to kill him. I could have Chandra's Outraged him, I could have Active Treasoned, but no sense letting him know I have those cards. I just sling him out to death, and that's turn 7. Pretty fast, pretty happy with how that deck played out. Alright, let's take a look at round 2. Same opponent. I'm feeling pretty confident because he had some questionable cards in his deck, made some questionable plays not blocking my stuff early on. Alright, this hand, not quite as impressive. I do have this Incinerate to kill early stuff, and I hope I could draw Plains to get the Veteran down, but yeah, nothing early for me, unfortunately. He chooses to play first. I do get the Plains for the Veterans on my draw. He's got nothing on turn 2. I do get this Arsonist down on turn 2, so just 1 turn late. It's 1 point of damage I missed. You know, not the end of the world. On turn 3, he gets down Mind Rot. Now, this is where I think I make an error. I'm pretty devastated by this Mind Rot. I mean, it's just every single one of my cards is gold here. So what I decide to do is I decide to actually throw away my lands, because I figure I have the most lands in the deck, so I'm the most likely to make up for that loss. I do have this Incinerate to buy me time if I get mana screwed now, and as soon as I get more mana, stuff's going to come online. Now, given that this Outrage and the Minotaur are important cards and do require another mountain, maybe I should have kept a mountain and thrown away something. But, oh god, what do you throw away here? Maybe just the risk of the mana screw is too much and you just gotta suck it up and accept that the Mind Rot really blew you out. I don't know. But that was really heartbreaking. Fortunately, I do get another land, and I can swing with the Arsonist, play the Veteran. On his turn at 4 mana, he's got a Drifting Shade. So this thing's not scary yet, but it can win games, because once he gets enough swamps, this thing is so huge, and he can pump it in response to red removal, so it becomes basically unkillable. You have to be very careful when your removal is red, when your opponent plays this type of pumping creature, because you have to time it very carefully to be able to kill it. Alright, on my turn I get another mountain, lucky me. I swing with the team, because of course he's not going to let that shade die to the Arsonist, and I get in 4 damage. I decide here to play the Minotaurs down, because I figure even if he gets another swamp, this thing is still within Chandra's Outrage range, and I want to get down my big 5/5 while I've got the chance. There were all those Doom Blades going around, so this thing is pretty likely to die, but I figure if he's got Doom Blades, he'll kill stuff anyway, so I might as well just, you know, put things down while I got the chance. Well, here comes Dark Favor onto the Drifting Shade. This, again, just shows why this enchantment is so bad. I mean, sure, that makes the Drifting Shade very big, power-wise, but the toughness is still low, so I can still... I mean, even now I can still kill it with red removal. He decides to swing, which I don't think is accurate, because, you know, I have more damage coming at him than he does coming at me. Then again, this isn't really any good on defense. It is good as long as you keep black mana up, I suppose. It can, like, block the Arsonist and then pump in response to live, but I don't know. Maybe attacking was the way to go. I'm just at such a high life total that he can't really get me down faster than I can get him down. He taps 3 mana for a Sacred Wolf. Okay. So that's good, I suppose. But it seems to me like this Dark Favor would have been better on the Wolf, perhaps? Because then I can't kill it? I don't know. Not exactly sure what he's thinking here. Possibly it was the right play and he just wants this Wolf to trade with the Veteran. Who knows? Alright, so here I have choices. I can put this Crimson Mage down and make him hasty, but then I don't have enough mana to Incinerate. And I am getting to the point where if he plays a 4th swamp, this shade starts to get a little bit over large. So I decided not to do that. I decided to just swing with the team. At his wolf, he uses the wolf to block the veteran. The veteran dies. I still hit him for 6 though. Now I just incinerate that Drifting Shade while I've got the chance, burning to away 2 of his cards. I can still play the Crimson Mage, and he's ready to swing next turn. Alright, he's got his 6th land. He plays the mighty Garrick's Companion, which I guess he must have top-decked recently, or else you think he would have played it earlier. He does nothing, he just keeps it back for defense, and it's also summoning 6, so why am I saying things? Now, at this point, I mean, he's dead. I have 7 damage coming at him, and the Chandra's Outrage deals 2, so I decided to just go for it here. I outrage the Companion away, and does he have removal? Nope, he doesn't. I just kill him. So, pretty easy match, but I only got 3 rating points for it, so that was not a super strong opponent by any means. Alright, let's go into round 2. Alright, I did not get that much of a chance to do scouting because even though that match was super quick, I was actually the last person to finish. So, really, really fast games in round 1 all around the draft. Alright, in this game, I decide to keep my hand. 4 mana is more than I really want to start with, but I have this Vanguard, I have the Berserker, who will get Bloodthirsted and removal. So, the cards I do have are pretty good. So I play the Vanguard down, live in the dream. He unfortunately has a Fire Slinger. Now I have a couple of options here. I could incinerate the Fire Slinger and then get the 2 damage in. But I decide to go for a Gambit. I figure he values this Fire Slinger and won't want to trade it for the Vanguard, so I swing. This time my gamble does not pay off. It would have been great if it had, because then this Berserker would have been a 3-3, but he does block the Fire Slinger. Now with bunches of land online, I don't want to wait. I'd rather just put this Berserker down and start getting the beats in. Alright, he has nothing on turn 2, so it's sad that this is not a 3-3 right now. So he made a very, very good play, blocking the Vanguard with the Fire Slinger. I think some people might have let that go through. Well, I hit him for 1 damage, play a 3rd land. I'm good and mana flooded here, it's kind of unfortunate. He plays the Blood Ogre, and that's gonna... It can't actually block my Berserker, but I decide to burn it out anyway, because I might as well. Maybe that was a little bit of an imprecise play, but, you know, at the 4 mana mark, he might start playing creatures that I can't actually even incinerate away, especially if, for example, he swings at me with the Blood Ogre and he has one of those Gorehorn Minotaurs coming down. So I decided to just stop any of that nonsense and kill it. Alright, I get Chandra's Outrage. That's pretty nice. That means I'll kill whatever he can put down. He, however, puts down the Rock Egg. Okay. Interesting card. I don't want to Chandra's Outrage that, obviously, but what's cool is that this Berserker can actually go through the Rock Egg, because it's only 1 creature and the Berserker has to be blocked by 2. Again, really great play on my opponent's part using that Fire Slinger to block the Vanguard on turn 2. You can see how some of these early plays really reverberate throughout the entire match, because now this Blood Berserker, he's getting 2 less damage in every round. Speaking of Reverberate, I draw this thing, and actually, because I'm mana flooded, I'll be able to Chandra's Outrage twice with the Reverberate, so that's kind of cool. So I swing with the Berserker, he tries to block, realizes that he can't, I get my another point of damage in, and I pass the turn. At 5 mana, he puts down a Great Sword, so I tried this before, and it didn't work that well for me, but Dan, who was doing some drafts with me, he's used it to great effect, so I'm not willing to say that an opponent is bad, just because he's playing that Great Sword. Alright, so that Rock Egg has Defender. I draw another land, which is sad, but I do keep attacking. And on his turn, he pays 5 mana for the Bonebreaker Giant. Now, of course, I could just kill it with the Chandra's Outrage. But with Reverberate and enough mana to cast it and Chandra's Outrage, I'm willing to take a hit, even a Greatsword-enabled hit, to see if I can get him to put 1 more creature down and kill them both. So I get Fling, which is unfortunately not super helpful, and pass my turn. Now with 2 creatures, he of course could just block this thing and kill it. Now on his turn, the game takes a turn for the weird. He pays 3 mana to equip the Greatsword. There's no particular reason to Chandra's Outrage right now. The Greatsword does not increase toughness, so I can kill that thing still at my leisure. But then he passes the turn. I'm not sure what the justification might be for not swinging with that guy. He's clearly winning the race. So, yeah, I think that was just a mistake. I think he's just got to start attacking here. Well, I get the Gorehorn Minotaurs, so I could, you know, Chandra's Outrage, but then I'm just 1 mana short of playing these with Bloodthirst after the Berserker comes through for damage. So, I decide to... this might be an error. I decided to do nothing, honestly. I could have just played these down. They can't really block the Giant, unfortunately. But maybe what the right play would have been was just to play the Giants down and let him swing at me, and then Chandra's Outrage and start going to town with my Hill Giant. But I figure if I pass the turn quickly, I'm trying to, take a play from Dan's playbook. Maybe I can get him to put one more creature down so this Chandra's Outrage Reverberate thing can happen. Well, he plays a 7th land, so we're both flooded, but unlike me, he has a 7/4 creature that he can attack with, and he doesn't attack with it. So I think this player is just not playing the game out correctly. His deck seems fine, but he should really be swinging with that dude. I just don't understand why he wouldn't be. Alright, I play down the Goblin Arsonist, because why not? And I again pass my turn, hoping that I can get him to maybe commit to another creature. He doesn't, and he doesn't attack. Well, if he's not attacking, I am perfectly content to just keep drawing cards, looking for more answers out of the situation, because he's beating me on the board pretty badly. I get a Veteran down. I swing with the Arsonist, hoping maybe he'll let the Arsonist die, and then I can put the Minotaurs down with Bloodthirst. But no, he blocks it with the Rock Egg, so just, a big fat nothing happens. And I decide to put down the Veteran. Alright, that is a play I come to regret, because on his turn, he now does put down another creature. So if I had kept the mana open, I could have reverberated the Chandra's Outrage. And not only that, but he also puts Goblin Warpaint on this thing. So that would have been quite the blowout to Chandra's Outrage both of these guys away and get rid of that stupid enchantment. Well, the enchantment's actually quite annoying here because it puts the Griffin Sentinel's toughness up to 5, and then I can't really deal with it very easily. So I Chandra's Outrage it right here, which is risky, I know, because now I actually have no way of dealing with this big 7/4 giant except to double block and lose 2 cards for 1. But again, this guy's not actually attacking me at all, so I figure he's just going to keep doing that. And indeed, he does not attack. No idea what is going on in his head. I get another mana, and I just pass, because if he's not going to attack me, I am content to keep waiting for answers to that giant. I do have 2 more Chandra's Outrages in this deck. He gets land number 8. We are both flooded, so it's not like I'm more lucky than he is. We're both pretty flooded, but he should be winning the game by swinging at me every turn, and he isn't. I draw Act of Treason. Now, this is a pretty sweet combo with Fling, because I can steal the giant, swing with it, and then fling it. So that's pretty sweet. I do that, paying my white mana, because I don't actually need the white mana. And actually, with Reverberate, I can burn him out. So I swing with my team here. He decides to block the giant with the Rock Egg to stop that 7 damage for going through. But that does put him down to 9 hit points. And now I can Fling, Reverberate the Fling, and then with the Banalish Veteran and the Bonebreaker's Giants, that's, 10 points of damage, that'll kill him. Unless he's playing one of those white instants that gains him 7 life, which I really doubt. However, despite my holding down the control key, which is what you're supposed to do when you want to keep priority after casting a spell, it does not let me keep priority. So I do Fling him for 7 points of damage, but this Reverberate sits in my hand because MTGO never gave me priority back. MTGO, you make me mad sometimes. Well, luckily now on his turn, he concedes. He does have this great sword, and this thing is a 6/3 flyer with that sword. However, he can't attack with it, obviously, because then he'll die. So he just concedes. Alright, good deck, or at least a decent deck, but questionable play. He really should have been swinging at me that entire time, so I'm pretty confident going into the second game of the match. Alright, he chooses to play first. Note that he does mulligan, so good news for me. And this hand's not bad. I have none of my turn 1 drops, but I got this Crimson Mage and the Griffin. So if I get another land, this Griffin can trigger Bloodthirst on turn 5 for the Minotaurs. Good stuff. Alright, he plays a Plains. I do get another land. He plays a Mountain. I get more land, so it's a little more than I want, but it's not the end of the world. Put down my dude. He does not have the Rock Egg. This time he has the Auramancer. This is starting to become like the signal of a bad player, is when they're playing that Auramancer. That's just not a good card. You really aren't likely enough to have targets for your enchantment spells to make playing that guy worthwhile unless you're really desperate for playables. Alright, I could draw Chandra's Outrage, always good to see. I swing because, I mean, there's no reason not to. Like, with this Auramancer in play, like, it's not like this Crimson Mage is going to be that effective. Maybe I could have held him back and seen if he would swing with his Auramancer, then I could attack back and trigger Bloodthirst on turn 4, but I really just doubt it. I figure he's probably going to have something to play to block the Crimson Mage anyway. So we trade off, and with 3 mana I got nothing to do. Alright, he puts down his Greatsword, so now I'm pretty happy to see that, because it's doing Jack all in squad. I get my Griffin down. I get ready to trigger Bloodthirst next turn. He puts down the Goblin Fireslinger, which I completely do not care about. And then he equips the Greatsword on it, which, okay, it's a 4-1, I guess, for tons of mana. So I'm okay with swinging the Griffin. And here I decide to put down the Berserker I just drew and the Veteran to put more presence on the board. And it spends more of my mana. Possibly that's a mistake, but I figured I wanted to get 2 creatures down rather than 1, just these Minotaurs. Of course, that does put me in reach of being wrathed, so could have been that the Minotaurs would have been a more precise play. Having only 1 creature instead of 2, and 1 fewer power on the board, because these 2 guys do swing for 6, this only swings for 5. But I decided to do that. I figure I'm in pretty good shape regardless. Okay, on his turn he gets a 6th land. He attacks with the Fireslinger, which is interesting. I don't want to lose either of my guys, though, because I am content to race. I'm hitting him for 9 damage a turn, and I can Chandra's Outrage whatever he puts down. He puts down Manic Vandal, which forces him to kill his own Greatsword. I guess he probably knew about that, but just was really desperate. At the same time, this thing can't actually block any of my creatures. So, yeah, I don't know. Alright, then he puts down the Goblin Warpaint. Okay, so now it can block my creatures. But, yeah, with Chandra's Outrage here, I can just kill it and hit him for 9 points of damage. So I just did 11 damage to him in that single round. That's pretty awesome. Alright, I'm ready to kill him here, because honestly, I can just active treason whatever he puts down. If he puts anything down at all. He puts down Divine Favor. Okay, now I am a little bit suspicious with the Warpaint and the Favor and the Auramancer and killing his own Greatsword. This again, apparently was just not a great player. That 2/4 can block my Veteran now. But it really doesn't matter. I can kill him with the Active Treason. I can kill him with the Chandra's Outrage I just drew. I decided to just burn off his dude. So that's, I think, yeah, 2 times now that I've killed something that had an enchantment on it. So he's out of cards, even though we have the same amount of lands down. I have 3 creatures and 2 cards in hand. So you can see what a devastating impact his decisions have had. And I swing at him for 9 and kill him. I got a grand total of 6 rating points from beating both of those opponents. So, yeah, I guess those are not great players, and I know who I'm playing against in this final round. I did have a chance to scout his games out. This guy is playing a heavy blue deck with some black, and he has 3 Aether Adepts. Well, now I know to fear the Aether Adept, and I don't even start with a particularly great opening hand here, because I don't have anything to play on turn 1, and my mana is a little bit dicey. Well, he plays a Swamp. I do get a 3rd mana, so I'll at least be able to play those Veterans. He gets a Merfolk Mesmerist, so he... Oh yeah, for my scouting, I saw that he also had, like, milling as kind of a secondary thing that he was doing. And funnily enough, this Merfolk Mesmerist is good on turn 2 at blocking my 1-drops. So, I didn't have any, but it's kind of funny that this 1/2 is actually good for something. Alright, he plays Ring Flesh to kill off my non-bloodthirsted Berserker. And does not choose to attack with the Mesmerist, so he is going for that mill. He always mills me in my upkeep, interestingly. You'd think that you'd want to keep it around just to see if you need to chump block or something, but he mesmerizes away a mountain and a fling. By the way, note that when people mill you, it can sometimes feel really devastating when they mill away really great cards. Don't complain about that, though, because it's just as likely that they would have milled away a bad card and left you with a good card. Since the cards in the deck are evenly distributed, it really doesn't matter in the long term what they mill away. Alright, so let's play down the Veteran. He actually unsummons it, so he has 3 Aether Adepts and an unsummon. That's awesome. Plays a Tormented Soul, so he's got me on a very slow clock. He mesmerizes me again. Now, I could incinerate the Mesmerist, but I feel like I'd rather wait and see if there's a bigger threat. And if there isn't, then I can, incinerate it when I'm really getting close to dying. He mills away my big bomb, which I can't play anyway, in a plane. So again, I'm not like that concerned about what he's milling. Alright, the Veteran comes down again. And, I know he's got 3 Aether Adepts. And so there's Aether Adept number 1. It bounces back my Veteran. I just feel like I'm already going to lose here. But, gotta keep trying. He's only got 1 card left. Maybe he's going to run out of steam or something. He mills me. He gets rid of my Fireslinger and a Mountain. Alright. I play down Veteran number 1 for the 2nd time. Or is it the 3rd? Yeah, the 3rd time now, and I get my Arsonist down. Alright, he swings at me with his team. I decide to trade the Arsonist for the Adept. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, sorry, I actually let the Adept stick around. I want to kill off this Tormented Soul, because the Adept I can block with other things, but this Tormented Soul is going to be just pinging at me every turn if I don't deal with it. Possibly I should have just let it keep going and gotten rid of the bigger creature. I might actually have come to regret that later. Alright, he ponders. Put some cards back on top, and he does choose not to shuffle. So always watch whether your opponent shuffles or not when they ponder. This means that he is happy with what he's getting. And he plays Child of Night, a lifelinker. Okay, he mills me, and I decide here to incinerate and reverberate the Child of Night and the Mesmerist. Maybe a more accurate play would have been to swing with the Veteran and just put down my Bloodthirst guy, because he's a 5/5. But I figure with 2 more Aether Adepts to go, this thing's not going to stick around much, and I do want to stop him from gaining life and milling me, because I'm getting out of 19 cards. It's getting a little bit scary. So I hold my control key down really tight, and this time it does let me reverberate, so I can kill off both the lifelinker and the Mesmerist. So no more milling for him. Alright, he gets 2 cards and plays the Aether Adept. So this is Aether Adept number 2. So this guy would have bounced back had I gone for the Bloodthirst route. He gets 2 damage on me. So yeah, maybe I should have just killed this thing. Now he'd only be getting me for 1 damage instead of 2. Alright, I got another mountain. And I put down a Veteran. I decided not to stick around. I just put the dude down to get more of a board presence. With only 1 card in hand, I figure like I might actually be able to start out racing him. Especially because I have another Veteran coming online soon. Alright, he plays another island, which I'm happy to see. At least it's not another card. But he plays this Bell Tower Sphinx. Now, Dan really defends this creature to the grave. And yeah, I see it now. It's hard for me to attack into him now because I'm getting low enough that losing 3 cards when this thing blocks is actually kind of a problem. So that's unfortunate, but I get this Act of Treason. So I'm hoping if I can just stall the board, eventually I can just Act of Treason and push through a ton of damage. So I hang tight for now. He plays a Chasm Drake, which is a little worrying, because that is going to start letting him get some damage in. I get a Vanguard, which is not super great, but I play it down. The more that I have on the board when I Act of Treason, the more effective that'll be. He plays Aether Adept number 3. Okay, he's out of cards. He's played all of his Aether Adepts. Alright, fine. He gets my Veteran back into hand. He swings at me for 5 damage. And I get Chandra's Outrage. So that's cool. I play that on the Chasm Drake to take away a little bit of his life, take away his main source of damage, and I can still put my Veteran back down. Okay, his turn, he plays a Skywinder Drake. Ugh, so he's still getting flying damage through each turn. So I need to hurry up here. I get another Veteran. I decide to just, wait for 1 more turn, because it's going to be a really big attack when I Act of Treason. Alright, on his turn, he does fly through for 3 damage, and it's getting to the point where these Aether Adepts, these 2/2s, actually are representing a pretty dangerous threat. But with this mountain, I figure I need to make my move now, so I Act of Treason. And I think about this very carefully. This is a really tricky situation. So if I swing with everyone now, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16 damage coming through. That's, enough to kill him. So he has to make at least 1 block. And the thing is, if he does just block 1 creature, he'll have 2, 4, 6, 9 damage coming through next turn that I can't parry, which will allow him to kill me. So I just don't have enough of a life total to go all out and really force him to start making bad trades. So that's kind of sad. I don't know, I think about this for a while and then I just get burned out. I decided to just leave enough that I can block and live. But he actually just takes it. So this gets him down to 4 hit points. On his turn, alright, I have enough to block so that I can still live, and then these will actually be trades. He's played an Unsummon in all 3 of his Aether Adepts, so I figure he's not going to have any more bounce. But he plays, you're not going to believe this, a 4th Aether Adept. Jesus frickin' Christ. So he actually had 4 in his deck. My scouting only revealed 3. Fairly lucky that in half of his deck he drew all of his Aether Adepts, but you know what? For all I know, maybe he had 6 goddamn Aether Adepts in there. I don't know. Well, anyway, now I don't have enough blockers, and he just kills me. Okay, that was distressing, but I mean, he really had a great deck. I just feel like I have to get lucky to beat that guy, and I did not get lucky enough. I decided to play first, hoping for something really aggressive I can slip through his freaking Aether Adepts, but this hand, you obviously have to mulligan, and now I'm color screwed. And mana screwed. So this is really sad. I really wish now I had taken the Oblivion Ring instead of this Angel. It seems pretty obvious. I'm just never going to play that. Alright, he plays Jace's Erasure, so milling is a pretty nice secondary win condition that he's got, and I'm mana screwed. I played the Berserker. He mills me a bit. He mills away at planes. He adepts the Berserker back. I'm like, fine, I have nothing to do with my turns anyway. Again, notice he did mill away a planes, so a lot of people would get really frustrated here, like, oh my god, if he hadn't done that, I could have played the planes and played the veteran. Don't let yourself fall for that. Again, when your cards are evenly distributed, it's just as likely that he'll mill away something good as something bad, so in the long run, it really doesn't make a difference. Alright, he mills another mountain, swings at me for 2, plays another Aether Adept. Oh, he's getting 2 of them. Alright, I do get a plains here, so I can play the veteran down. He is not missing his land drops, so I trade because I need to stem the bleeding. He's got this Mesmerist, so milling is going online, and it's actually quite effective here, this milling business, because I actually can't do anything. This game is pretty stalled out. So I put down the Berserker. He's not missing his land drops. He swings at me. It's not really profitable to block, so I'll let the 2 damage go through. He's got that Sphinx down, so no hope of aggression for me of any kind. At 4 mana, I ping him and put down my Minotaur. So if he doesn't have any Aether Adepts or something, I can start swinging at him for 5 damage. So that comes down. On his turn, he has a Gravedigger to bring back the Aether Adept. So he doesn't draw the Aether Adept, he just gets it back. I know this Minotaur's sticking around for a grand total of 1 turn. Well, there's nothing for me to do here, so after he mills some more land away from me, I incinerate the Gravedigger, and I swing with the team. So now this Blood Berserker does get through because he doesn't have 2 creatures to block with. And I put down another Fire Slinger, so I've got, 2 damage coming out of my turn in this 5/5, except of course it's about to get Aetherly Adepted. Alright, he Aether Adepts my Minotaur. He swings at me now for 4 damage. Maybe I should have blocked, I don't know. But he gets me down to 8, and he plays the Drake, so he's got some serious damage coming at me. He's milling me, and he's getting me down on life. Alright, he mills me some more. I'm down to 17 cards. I ping him, put down my Minotaur, and I pass the turn. He has an unsummon for the Minotaur. So back into my hand it goes, and now he can just swing out. I concede because there's nothing I can draw that will help me come back. So a little bit of a frustrating final match. He also was a fairly low-rated opponent. I actually lost more rating points losing to him than I did from beating both of the other guys. But at least I got 2 packs, so my next draft is a bit cheaper, and I got some good learning experiences. Apparently, you really need to try to draft aetheradept.deck. I don't actually know how many of those I passed. I want to see that draft video again just to see, like, was I passing all of these? Could I have ended up with 4 Aether Adepts? I don't know. So, bit of a frustrating final match, but a good match overall, and I'll see you in the next draft.